want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good day, Mad Men Mafia.
That's right. I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
That's right. On this Veterans Day edition, as we record this, maybe not necessarily when you're watching it or listening to it, but as we record this, it is 11/11.
That's right.
Veterans Day in America, where we honor the service, those who have served our country in primarily through the military, through military service. Thank you for your service, Jason B. Kendrick.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Aye. Right on. Two veterans here. Did some time in the uniform.
Shoot, I did some time as an Army brat. Both my parents are Army, so I grew up that way and then put on the uniform myself. So, it's a good way to grow up. It's a good way to live. It's a little chaotic. It's a little all over the place. But you know what? You get to see the world. You get to have different experiences that most people don't get to have. So, I mean, it's a good life.
That's one thing we don't necessarily do a great job of in our country is honoring the families of our service members, because the families of our service members make a huge sacrifice for our country, whether it's moving around every 4 years or not having like a stable place where you grew up or whatever it is. And then, your spouse or parent gets deployed and, you end up being a single parent, or either, being raised by a single parent for X amount of months while the other parents are deployed. All these different kinds of things are just part of the service that family members provide to our country. And without the family supporting the service member, we wouldn't be allowed to thank people for their service in the way we do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we don't always acknowledge or even really think about, is that, it's not just the serviceman, it's the family as well. And a lot of times the family gets overlooked, but they're part and parcel to how that man or woman can serve the country and do the things we need them to do. There are some of those that leave their family behind in the States and they go get deployed for a year or more, whatever their deployment is. And there are those of us who would go with our families. I went to 10 different schools, I think, throughout my career or school career. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing, really. You grow up that way, you just get used to it. Like in my head, there's every 2 to 4 years, there's a bell that goes off. Like, I need to move over here and move over there. It's just something that is there. But I mean, on this Veterans Day, we wanted to acknowledge, we talk a lot about masculinity and service, service being a big part of masculinity. But this being Veterans Day, as we record this is a great opportunity to not only acknowledge men who serve, but also both men and women our veterans who serve, plus the families as well, because a lot of times they don't get enough credit.
Hey, that you brought that up. This might be a little squirrel here, but do you think that still sticks with you today as far as moving around and all that kind of stuff, man? Because since I've known you move like almost every year.
Almost, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times where it could be just the location, it could just be the apartment, the rent, whatnot. But there is a definite thing where about every 2 to 4 years, something kind of goes off. I think the only time that hasn't happened was my first time living in Breckenridge. I lived in the same place for about 5 years before the alarm went off. But yeah, it's something that I think you just kind of, I don't know, you grow up that way, you get used to it, and you just think, it's time to move on. It's time to go. And, living in some place like Denver, in the Metroplex, there's so many, cities and suburbs and things like that. I stayed for 10 years in that same area, but I moved every couple of years, depending on, my apartment or whatever the situation was. But I think there is some truth to that. Like, you get used to the moving piece.
And so this kind of goes back a little bit to, one of the things that we do when we celebrate Veterans Day is that we say, thank you for your service. That's kind of the way that's the verbal thing that we say to veterans. I mean, and I don't know. When I hear that, I'm kind of like, cool. I feel weird. Like, what do you say? You welcome? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I
I
feel
know
weird
I
about
feel
that.
the same way. I'm like, I appreciate it, and I know they're showing their appreciation, but yeah, I mean, it's not maybe it's because we didn't do 40 years or 20 years or whatever. I don't know. There's just something about it where it's just like, I was just doing my thing. I don't know. Maybe we just that humbleness in us where we're like, oh yeah, no, I just was doing
Yeah.
my thing. So, don't need to be for it, but
I think most people that have served probably the same way too. That we appreciate it, but most veterans that I know don't seek the rah rah. Hey, whatever, whatever. Now that being said, some Marines do get obnoxious. Because
mm,
Veterans Day is the day after Marine Corps birthday and all that stuff. And if you know a Marine, you've seen a picture of them in their uniform in the last day or two on social media. Everybody, man, if you know a Marine, you gotta love them. Bless their heart. But even them, you know, uh, for the most part, veterans in general, most of us are kind of humble about our service. But the whole notion of service, I mean, it goes beyond military, I guess. But there's so many people that serve in different ways. And even if you just wanted to take a snapshot at Veterans Day, just even in veterans, I mean, there's a lot of people that that go into that veteran getting that free meal on Veterans Day, and so yeah, the idea of service is a bigger deal, a bigger picture.
yeah, I think it's one of those things we need to acknowledge is that we all serve to some degree and some level, whether it's as a parent, whether it's as an employee, whether it's as a business owner. I mean, we're all of service. I mean, the whole point of being human is to be of service to other humans. I mean, that's how we have businesses, it's how we make money, it's how we make a living. Everything is about service, and we want to acknowledge our veterans, we want to acknowledge our service members, but we also maybe want to take this opportunity to acknowledge those in our lives and our families, and even those who maybe never served in the military, but they are of service. They do have a service mindset. And for a lot of us men, until we find that service, until we find that purpose, we're kind of listless. It's like there's something in us. I don't know if it's the Y chromosome, the X chromosome, whatever it is, but there's something in us that's like, what do I do? What is my purpose? How do I serve? And it's something that until usually as guys, until we find that peace, we feel a little lost. We don't feel like we have our purpose or our passion. And so as a person who has served in the military, as a person who has served as a waiter, a bartender, you know, just a employee, a driver, whatever you want to call it, whatever the job is, being of service is kind of how we find our purpose, find our passion. It's how we serve the world. We are all about service. Everything we do is service. I think sometimes the biggest problems we have nowadays is that people don't have a service mindset.
I am thankful and honored that I have a son that's on active duty right now. In the Navy, and before he graduated high school, he kind of went through this period of time where he was a little bit lost. I mean, and he'll tell you that now. He was just kind of wandering. He wasn't getting in any trouble or nothing stupid like that, but just kind of looking for something. And I mean, I can say that, man, I noticed the day that when I went to his graduation up in Great Lakes, Illinois, Navy boot camp graduation. You could see a difference in him. Now, granted, boot camp is, partly an indoctrination. So it kind of is what it is. And, but just to see him with purpose, and that purpose being like of service to the country and to the Navy and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was legit proud. But yeah, to see him, with that, to see that difference in him was man, it was obvious to point out. And then, like I said, even called me earlier today and asked me where I was gonna go eat for free. And turns out him and his girlfriend, who she's in active duty too, they had already eaten twice free that day at different restaurants. And he had his whole list. They probably went to two different places tonight to eat free, which I'm like, wait a minute, man, you ain't even a veteran, man. You ain't got a DD 214 yet, man. What you doing, man? Um, but um, but no, it was pretty cool to your point to see him having that twinkle in his eye, like, yeah, I'm serving something greater than myself. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's the point that we need to make and even highlight is that service is about serving something greater than yourself. So that's why I think when it comes to being a veteran or military member, you get that you understand you're serving your country. You understand there's a bigger picture that you're serving, that you're a cog in the wheel, you're a nugget on the spoke, whatever it is. You know that there's a bigger picture, something larger than you as you're serving. I think for a lot of guys, when we don't have that, or we don't acknowledge there's something larger than us that we're serving, whether it's a higher power, whether it's a business, a purpose, a family, whatever it is, when we don't have that acknowledgement of there's something bigger than me that I'm serving, then a lot of times I think we do get lost and we do fall off. And so if you're in one of those listless areas, especially with the holidays coming up, I know we lose so many men over the holidays because they feel lost, they feel less than, they feel like they're missing something, maybe because they don't have a family to celebrate the holidays with or whatnot. But maybe be of service, maybe serve something bigger than yourself so that you can make it through this holidays, because we need you next year.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, I love it. I'm seeing it already, and it's pretty cool. But if you're listening to this or watching this, especially if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, man, throw in your branch of service and your years, your dates. Put that in the comments here. Let's represent. I already seen a couple of likes and comments from some of our Mad Men Mafia who served. But yeah, go ahead, throw in the comments, man. Your where you served and or when and all that kind of stuff, man. This is a day for us to represent. I mean, you did something pretty cool. It's a big deal to do that, man, to sign on that line, to raise your hand and say, you'll swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign or domestic, and without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and whatever the rest of it is, so help you God. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, man. I remember that moment, man. And man, I'll never forget that. That's a pretty big deal to do. So yeah, man, if you man, throw a little comment in there, man, and represent the branch you were in and when you were in and what generation you were in.
Yeah, it's something I don't think people who haven't done it don't realize, is that when you give that oath, when you sign on the dotted line, you're basically writing Uncle Sam a blank check that's up to and including your life. And until you are finished with your tour or your service, that check is still outstanding. So it's something people don't realize, that what the price is, because we understand that we lose a lot of veterans. We understand in wartime and stuff, but even in non-wartime, when you sign on that dotted line and put your hand up and take that oath, that you basically giving them a blank check that's up to and including your life. So that's why we thank veterans. And I love the fact that we have this day to celebrate veterans, because they need to be thanked, but also we need to realize that there's so much bigger in the world than just serving our country. There's serving our families, serving our community, serving our world. And so that's why we do these episodes. We want to acknowledge our veterans. They also want to acknowledge you for whatever service it is you put in.
Boom. Speaking of blank check, let's take us a little blank check here. We're going to take us a break. We'll be right back on Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC. That was a good point, dude.
Blank checks.
I want to come back to that one, man. That was a great freaking point. That was a hell of a point, man.
Yeah, I remember somebody.
Or what? You got a crud or what?
Yeah, I got my fall, because we had such a cold snap and all this snow and everything. So plus being at altitude, my body's readjusting, and of course I haven't had a drink or a cigarette since I've been up here, so my body's like cleansing right now.
Dude, man, we both got sick on vacation. That was not cool at all.
No. No, I got up this morning and I took my Zicam or whatever, my zinc and my cold medicine. I went up at Keystone, did 3 runs, went to the gym, got me some lunch. I was looking at some trailers, apartments up here, but they're pricey.
Yeah, I bet they are. All right, here we go.
Let's go back.
And we're back.
Yes, we're back.
Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City, on the interwebs. Everywhere. I mean, you can check us out, YouTube, Facebook. It don't cost you nothing to hit the like button or subscribe button. It don't cost you but a few moments of your life to type in, hey, what's up? Or in this case, if you serve, type in your branch of service and
Yeah.
when you served, all those kind of good things,
Give us a
man.
happy Veterans Day. Tell your folks
Something
Happy
like that.
Veterans
Holla at
Day.
your boys, man. Holla at your boys. We just up
Let us
here
know
doing
you're
our
out
thing,
there.
man. Let us know you out there, man. We doing this
We
thing
love
that-
talking to each other, but sometimes it feels like we're just talking to each other. So we want to know
Yeah.
that you're out there. There's so many of you guys. Come
Yeah.
up and to us in person. Like, oh, that was a great episode. Like and leave
Say
comments. Help
something.
us out, man.
Even if we're
Help your
not
boys
live,
out.
we can see them when they pop in after the fact. So holla at
Yeah.
your boys. Before we went on a break, you talked about when you raise your hand in that room, with the flag and all those other people standing around you, and it is a blank check. I don't know if you came up with that yourself or you heard that, but it is a blank check, man, and you never know, what that's gonna cost you. Some people, it literally will cost them a limb, an arm, and a leg. Some people, it's the ultimate cost, man. And so, when you do make that commitment to service on that day in which you're probably very young when you make that, it's one of those things, man, that when you commit your life to service, man, you really don't know what you're committing. I mean, you commit to kind of put yourself in situations where you're willing to put in whatever is being asked of you at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we talk to a lot of young men who are considering military service, and we always just want to let them know, here's the bottom line. That could be your life, but also the benefits. I mean, you travel the world, you get free education. If you do it correctly, you could even go in if you don't have a college education, go in as an officer. You could go in enlisted, get an education while you're in, go bootstrap, come back in as an officer, serve, have a retirement after 20 years. I mean, you'll be 38 if you joined at 18 and you have a for life retirement. So no matter what you do or how much money you make, there's that money coming in every month. So I know, like, after my first tour and I got out, it was like that 20 years went by so quick. I think it was like
Mhm.
16 years or 15 years, whatever it was afterwards. I was like, wow, I could have a retirement check for the rest of my life right now. But I didn't, being a young, dumb kid, didn't think about it. Just went, got in and got out. But
Yeah,
that's something, there's definitely benefits.
there are benefits to that service, man. And I think just service in general, when you live a life of service, there is a cost, there may be a sacrifice, but more often than not, there are benefits to that as well. Some of them may be tangible, retirement, health benefits, education benefits, and all those kinds of things. But some of those benefits are just more, I don't know if the word I'm looking for is altruistic or what, like more intangible, like
Mhm.
a sense of purpose, a sense of teamwork, being a part of a family, being part of a network, being part of a group of crew. I mean, those are benefits as well because I think a lot of men don't have those things in their life because they don't live a life of service. And even let's just say it's not the military. Let's say you're a firefighter or a police officer or whatever, first responder of some kind. All of those come along with some sense of community, some sense of connection with other people, some sense of purpose, all of those kinds of things. And so, when you live a life of service, man, there are a lot of tangible but then also some intangible benefits that come along with that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's really holding our nation back, our community back. I mean, the generations back. I mean, this narcissistic me first, it's all about me kind of mindset. And you wonder why we have such mental health crisis. We have, such trauma and stuff going on is because we have lost the idea of community, of family, and of service. And, being of service is something larger than ourselves. And so all we have is, okay, well, I'm doing this job to make money. Well, that doesn't give you a whole lot of warm fuzzies in the heart because you're just after a paycheck. You're not after a career or being of service.
Mhm,
And that's why when they say if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life because
mhm,
you're being of service. You're contributing something you love. You're using your strengths and your natural gifts to be of service to the world. And when
mhm.
you do that, you naturally create community. You naturally create connection. And that's one of the things I think we're missing more now than ever before is there's just a lack of connection, a lack of sense of connection and community throughout our nation and probably the world right now. And
Mhm.
social media may look like we're all connected, but we're not. We're not connected face to face. We're not connected heart to heart.
Yeah. Yeah, we may be more digitally quote unquote connected than any, kind of society or generation before us, but I believe we're also more relationally detached than we've ever been before because we everything is digital, everything is distance, everything is kind of just virtual, I guess you could say, you will, if you will. So when you get into a life of service, and I like what you said about this time of year. Um, this time of year, especially if you find yourself in smaller circles of people, close circles of people, maybe you're not super connected with family and all this other kind of stuff, and you get into the holidays where a lot of the focus is families and gatherings and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it can feel lonely, man. It can feel detached, and so one of the ways to circumvent that is to get in a place of service, get in a place where you are actively serving other people or serving somebody else. And so I mean, I dig that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I spent many years working for the resorts here in Colorado. I mean, I came back to do a little reset and move back up here. And, when you work for the resorts, you work holidays. Those are your busy times. So, you're not taking off for those times because that's when everybody else takes off and they come up here. And for a lot of guys, I used to talk guys off the ledge quite a bit. We sit at the bar and they're just depressed and, just going through on that hamster wheel in their mind of depression and just, I don't have anybody, I don't have anything. And the holidays are all about family and this and that, but they're friendsgivings and having a group for Christmas, doing things like that, just having a community around you, when you can connect with those next to you, then you don't feel isolated, you don't feel less than, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. Yeah, maybe your parents or your family is in another state somewhere, but you can feel like you're connected, you can feel like you're of service with those around you. But a lot of times we get so caught up in our own little hamster wheel of woe is me that we don't stick our heads up and look around and go, well, who can I be of service to, or who can I connect to? Because all we have to do is look up and say, well, it's the holidays, there's a bunch of single people here, let's create an event, let's create a connection, let's create a dinner, let's create something so that we can, because whatever you need somebody else needs, whatever it is you're missing somebody else is missing, so provide that for somebody else, and then you will feel that service, you will feel that intangible, heartwarming, just altruistic, whatever it is, feeling that we all need, especially as men, to feel like we're worth something, to feel like we're contributing. Because I mean, for us men especially, I mean, our lives are all about service. It's service to our family, service to our nation, service to the world.
I would say if you're doing a whole lot of time sitting around a bar by yourself, that's probably a good place to start. I mean, that's probably a good indication that you're not living in service of others, and it's definitely in a circle of connection with others. But you take a holiday like Thanksgiving, there are opportunities with a holiday like Thanksgiving, to go serve somebody less fortunate than you, to go serve, the homeless, or to go serve um wherever. I mean, to serve the people who are working that day. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities for that. Same thing like with Christmas. There's opportunities to do toys for tots, or I don't know, something. Um, but this time of year, man, it's you got to be intentional about it. You gotta you have to put the effort forward to do it, but it's a great time of year to extend a hand out to somebody else. And if nothing else, it doesn't even have to be somebody quote unquote less fortunate. I mean, shoot, just anybody around you, man. Just supporting them and being around folks. I mean, that is more than enough in itself.
Yeah, one of the things that we as veterans have, most of us have experienced, is spending the holidays somewhere eating out MRE, or sometimes we get a little Thanksgiving, box lunch, something like that. But having that experience with others. So if you are in a situation where you don't have family around you, there are others around you, and when you have those experiences together, it brings you closer. It makes you more of a family. The family doesn't always have to be blood. So when you have these experiences, and if somebody's not planning that around you, maybe you can be the one. You can start a thing and generate a community right there and have that experience together. And just being of service that way, man, that'll get you through the holidays so much better than any presents or gifts or family or anything else. Just being of service and helping others will make you look forward to the next holiday.
Yeah. And it gives you some level of purpose. It gives you some sense of purpose. It gives you something to look forward to or some opportunity to be fulfilled at a time of year where a lot of people, where a lot of the focus at the time of year can be me. Honestly, me. You take a holiday like Thanksgiving, which is supposed to be, for us to be thankful and to have gratitude for, for things in life. But if you think about it, I'm thankful for what I have. I mean, the whole point of Thanksgiving is I'm thankful for, the blessings that I have. I'm blessed, I'm thankful for, whatever, my this and my that. And then, of course, Christmas is so commercialized that it is, it's about we go out and spend and buy gifts that we don't need, that other people don't need, just to get stuff, and whether it's receiving gifts or buying gifts, both of those can be about me, whether I'm receiving it or whether I'm buying you a gift so that I can feel better about buying you a gift. And so, a lot of this time of year, even though, on the surface, it's about connecting and getting together. A lot of it can be about me.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of us have kind of fallen off when it comes to connection and community and service is that you don't need gifts when you're of service, when you have a service mindset, when you're open hearted and you're giving to others, that'll be the best holiday you ever had because of the effect that you're having on other people because of whatever it is you're giving, your time, your energy, your food, your home, whatever it is, when you're giving to others and being of service, you don't want anything else. Your heart's full. Your cup is full. Your cup overflows. Like you have everything that you could want in that moment. And I think that's something we should probably focus on in the holidays coming up is that it's not about all the physical stuff. It's not about all the material things. It's really about service and being of community. And if you haven't had a great Christmas or holidays before, maybe think about being of service for this one. And I guarantee you probably want to do that again and again because it's not about the material things. It's about the experience of service.
Yeah. And you get to live outward as opposed to inward. And so speaking of outward,
Now we're looking
let's take us an outward break. We'll be outro. Let's do an outro into this break
outro.
here. We'll be right back. Madmen of Masculinity. Boom.
Yeah, and for those of you behind the scenes, we're sorry. We're both on the sick bus, but we're still here. We're still doing our thing, getting better.
You got to be willing
So,
to do it ugly. You
yeah,
got to be willing to do it ugly, man. Everybody wants
we,
everything to look perfect and highly
we do,
produced and all
we
this
do it
other
how
kind
we
of
do
crap.
it.
You got to be willing to do it ugly, man. That's when you know it means something to you. And so whether we're stuffed or coughing or whatever it is, what it is, we yeah,
I'll be okay.
all of that. All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
What is this 3? Yeah,
That's three.
We're back.
Yes, we're back.
We be back.
We back. We're men of service.
We back. We back like Superman's cape. We back.
What? It's on his back, flapping on his back.
I don't know who I love the dab is 2712, but hey, what's up to you too? Whoever you are that commented, what's happening?
Hi. What's up?
Whoever you are that you serve, how do you serve? Whoever I love the dab is, I'd be curious. Whoever you are, I like you because you're cool because you said something.
Yeah.
The term samurai means one who serves. And we think of samurai as a warrior. But the samurai life is not just about having armor and a sword and that. The samurai life is not just being a warrior, it's also being a gardener, a florist. It's also finding different ways to express yourself where it's not just about the one thing, or it's not just about the warrior. And so I think us as men, particularly, we all when there's this thing in our culture where, guys, I mean, everybody want to be, I want to be a lion, I want to be a warrior, this everybody wants to be a Navy SEAL and all this other kind of stuff. And you know, being a warrior doesn't necessarily have to be the super high end macho kind of stuff. I mean, that's great to a degree, and we need those. We need people who are willing to go down range, but we also need people who are willing to, to protect the home front and to guard the walls of the community and the home and the homeland and the home life. So as we live a life of the samurai and the warrior, we also got to be willing to do the small things like plant the flowers at home.
Yeah, there's something that we've talked about quite a bit, and it's something that kind of came full circle for me when I was at the speakers boot camp. But if you are struggling with figuring out what your service is, or if you're struggling and you think you need to be the Navy SEAL or the Lion or the Warrior or whatever, you're trying to figure out how do I serve, what do I do? Look at your past. What was it you struggled with? Share yourself, share your struggles, because I guarantee you, you're not alone. Even though you feel alone, even though you feel like you're an island, especially as men, if we start to share authentically and be our authentic selves and share our struggles and share our traumas and share these things with others, we will find naturally a lot of purpose and service in that, because so many of us are hiding from the pains and the traumas and the things, especially as men, because we don't feel heard, we don't feel seen. Everybody tells us to suck it up and be a man. But the bravest thing that you can do now is to stand up tall with whatever your trauma is, whatever your backstory is, and share that with others, so that somebody else may save some time and some pain by hearing your story. You can support others and be of service. So it's not about always being the alpha big bad dog and all that stuff. I mean, those guys have their purpose, but for most of us, that's not our purpose. Our purpose is to share who we are with the world. And if you can do that unapologetically with a service mindset, you're going to find purpose. You're going to find something that's going to be a long lasting gift to the world, and maybe something that you've been looking for and searching for. And all you had to do was share those deep, dark secrets that are running through your mind anyway with somebody else who's also struggling. And you'll find a path of service that could save your life and theirs as well.
There's something about that, the war within, man, and there's a whole lot of people fighting a war within, and they need somebody to fight that battle with them. To walk alongside with them and sit alongside with them, whether that's a visit to a nursing home, whether that's pushing a disabled veteran around a VA hospital. When I was a teenager and in high school, we used to do that. We used to volunteer at the VA hospital in DC, and I don't know if it's a thing now, but yeah, they just need people to literally transport patients around the hospital in wheelchairs and and that kind of stuff. So there's all, and then just serving, on a even more quieter front, serving the people that are struggling with some stuff. We went to dinner maybe a week or two ago at Texas Roadhouse, and our server, she is a wife of a first responder. I think it was a firefighter, I think. But she had this passion of supporting other wives of first responders, of like firefighters. And she was kind of like, yeah, yeah, I really have this passion to do this, blah, blah, blah. And because I mentioned, she kind of asked, what do you do? And I mentioned the radio show and speaking and all that kind of stuff. And that's where she went to that. And man, I like went in, I kind of went in deep with, like, hey, you got to do that. I mean, exactly what those people are going through, with those wives are going through. And there's a million people that need to hear that story. I told her, I was like, that, somebody right now is praying and you're the answer to that prayer. And all you need to do is let them know that you're out here and let them know that you support them and you know what they're going through. And she like kept coming back to the table and she was like, man, she's like, what's your name or your website? She was like, I'm so inspired to do something. But, the point was that, man, here she was, a pregnant server at Texas Roadhouse while, but she had this passion that was so much greater than that. And that's a life of service. That was, service to, in her case, other women who were wives of first responders, and the things that they go through, not knowing if he's going to come home at the end of the shift, et cetera, et cetera. And so, there's so many people that just need somebody to allow them the opportunity to say me too. And by that, just putting yourself in the position to support other people and live a life of service that way.
Yeah, that's a great point because I mean, we talked about even how families serve their veterans, how families serve their active duty because maybe they're with them being deployed, going overseas, or maybe they're staying home. But just having that experience of a loved one being active, a loved one being overseas, a loved one being deployed, and coming together as a community and just sharing that experience together. Because it can feel isolating. It can feel like you're all alone when, especially if you're a wife to a service member or even a husband to a service member, and then your partner gets deployed and you're stuck home with the kids and the bills and all that stuff, and now your number one support is gone. And so having those other folks who are having that same experience support each other, then you can actually have a life of service, a life of purpose, and help other people who are in the exact same situation you are. I mean, we met Bree at the Gary Barnes boot camp, and she serves single mothers because her husband passed. He was a veteran. And so she's basically sharing her experience with other single mothers because that's her experience. And you're never an island as much as it feels like it. You're never an island. There's so many other people having the same experience. So just share and open up and maybe create an opportunity for others who are having the same experience to come together. It's just so they can know they're not alone and you can support each other because you're going through the same things.
Yeah. I told the server at Texas Roadhouse, I was like, I know two different women who support or have basically platforms or are involved in supporting women who've lost husbands in the military. I think they might. Is that what they call Gold Star families? I think. I'm not sure. Forgive my ignorance. I went to public school. But I was like, I know two different women that just do that. So I mean, on top of others, and to your point, we just met even more a few months ago. Um, and so there's so many opportunities to support people that have been through what you've gone through. If you grew up without a father in your life, man, there's so many opportunities for you to be a father figure to young men who don't have fathers in their life these days, whether that's coaching sports or a mentoring program. Man, at one point I was involved with an organization that you would do mentoring with young men in youth incarceration facilities. I mean, so on and so forth. But there's so many opportunities to support other people, even through your trauma or through what you didn't get. So the point of looking into your past and seeing opportunities to serve somebody in your future, I mean, that's like exactly what those people are going through. You know exactly the words that they need to hear. You know exactly what that experience is like. So what a better way to serve than to go into an area that you know very well and help serve others that are in that place right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point. I mean, when somebody's going through something, the last thing they want to hear is from somebody who has no idea what they're going through.
Mhm,
Somebody who's like, "Oh, just get over it. Oh, just suck it up," or "Oh, it'll get better." No, you want to hear from somebody who's been there. You want to hear from somebody who's been through the trenches, who's struggled with the same thing, who's come out the other side, and who has that experience. Because they don't have to say anything. They can just look at you, nod their head, and they're like, "I know."
mhm,
And you feel so much better because you don't feel alone. You don't feel isolated. So share whatever it is that you've gone through. There's nobody on this planet nowadays who hasn't gone through something.
mhm,
Share whatever it is you've gone through. Share your story, share your struggles. And if you are struggling, look for somebody who has already been there, who's gotten through the other side, who's had help, and maybe ask them to be your mentor, your coach, your friend. Because you're doing them a solid. You're doing them a favor. You're giving them purpose by coming up and asking them, like, hey, I see that you dealt with this. I'm dealing with that now, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. You're actually doing them a favor because I know I'm a big one of that. I do it all the time, and it's something I have to be conscious of. It's like if I'm struggling, I don't say anything to anybody else. 'Cause I don't want to bother anybody. So many men do the same thing. Women nowadays too, because they're all boss babes, independent. I can't bother anybody. But when you offer somebody the opportunity to support you, you're creating a bridge of love and support between the two of you that wasn't there before. But so often we're like, oh, I don't want to bother him. Well, now you've just lost this opportunity to create genuine connection and love between two people who, I mean, what is it that for most of us, the best thing we've ever gotten to do is support somebody else through their trying times,
Mhm.
support somebody else through something we've been through, and help see them through the other side. But when we don't ask, when we don't say, "Hey, I need help," we're just we're denying the opportunity for somebody else to have the opportunity to support us.
Yeah.
It's a very selfish thing, and I know I'm guilty of it more than probably a lot of folks.
We just had a couple on not too long ago, the Petersons, that they have a whole platform supporting people with silent diseases,
Mhm.
with conditions that most people don't go through. I mean, man, there's all kinds of people to connect in. That's one good thing the internet has done, is made it easier for folks to find their tribe. Man, you could search any any daggone thing, and you'll find probably somebody that has some kind of platform or group for that. And guess what? If you don't find it, maybe you the one to actually start it. If you ever sit back saying somebody should do something about that, that somebody is probably you.
You're somebody.
You are definitely, you're probably the most qualified somebody if you say somebody should do something about that. So and it is a perfect time to do something about the fact that we need a break.
Oh, let's take that break.
We'll be right back. Madmen of Masculinity. Dude, we've been like right on it with the breaks, man. Oh, Tanner's gonna be like, oh yeah. These dudes been freaking right on it, dude. For
Yeah,
real,
we
for
try to make his
real.
job as easy as possible.
Yeah, because it wasn't easy last time with all them edits.
No, I
I didn't
told him too.
even
I sent that email. I was like, he was being a doctor. He was
yeah.
using doctor terminology.
Yeah.
And if y'all are watching and wonder what we're talking about, go watch the last episode with Dr. Lee. He was being a doctor.
We were
He was
talking
using
about
words,
some, men's health,
men's
men's
health.
sexual health to be
Yeah.
specific. And
Well, yeah.
it
Men
got
and women's sexual health. And
yeah,
yeah,
it got really
got
real.
very clinical.
It got really real. It was clinical. We were clinically hitting the mute button probably for
And beep,
Tanner.
beep. Yeah,
Um,
there was probably lots of edits there.
but that was a great, man. But that was some good info, man. I really
Oh, yeah.
that was
Such a good episode.
that was dope, man. That was dope. All right, home stretch. Here we go.
Home stretch, fourth quarter. And we're back.
Yep.
This is the Madmen of Masculinity. We are
Mhm.
on KLDC and on the interwebs everywhere.
Talking about service today.
Yes,
The
sir. It's
not, I
Veterans
mean, as
Day.
we
Salute to all
record
the vets.
this, on Veterans Day 2024, not even just military service, but just service in general. Obviously, if you've served our country in the armed forces, in the military, thank you for your service, and you're welcome.
Because we did it too.
Yeah, because we did it too. Been there, done that. But even in a greater picture, man, there's opportunities to serve your community. There's opportunities to serve individuals. There's opportunities to serve your families and friends, man. There's just all kinds of opportunities, period. But a life of service is great, and it's very tangible when it's in the military. But there's so many different ways to serve, mankind. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the whole notion of act locally, think globally. I mean, if you're just serving your family, if you're just being the best parent you can be, if you're just being the, best mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever, that's still service. And one thing is, we see all the changes going on in the world. We see all this craziness going on in the world. And what I'm seeing is that even those who don't want to see are starting to see that the way things have been going, they can't continue that way. This division and hate and blame, being hateful towards somebody else for some stupid reason of race or religion or sex or whatever like that. And we're getting back to an honest discussion about service and community and connection, because we see all these divide and conquer tactics. We see how the news media and the politics and everything else is trying to keep us on divided lines. But we all feel that need for service. We feel that need for connection. And if you're like us and you feel a need for connection, you feel a need for purpose, if you're a man searching for purpose, share yourself, become of service to somebody else, and you'll find that purpose. I mean, that's the biggest shift that's going on right now is everybody's starting to realize that what we've been told is a lie, how we've been manipulated and you know turned against each other. This is all lies. And all we have to do is turn around and open our hearts and share ourselves with somebody else and realize that we're not alone. We're all connected. We're all one world.
And when we live a life of service, when we live a life of connection, we live a life of fulfillment. You realize that in a weird way, as you pour out, you find your cup being filled. And it's can't really explain it, defies the laws of gravity, or the laws of the universe or whatever. But somehow as you pour out, you actually get fulfilled and you become fulfilled. And that's one thing so many people are looking for these days is fulfillment. We have plenty of stuff. I mean, where I live, man. I mean, this part of town, there's a storage unit like every half mile. I mean, and they're all full. We got stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff. We got information. Google is taking care of that. Anything and Alexa. I'm not going to say it because it would light up
She's
here
listening.
in my office. She listening. We got all the information. We got all the entertainment. We got all the apps. We got all the, we got all these empty calories in our culture that we use to fill, spaces. It's like, we want protein, but we have a bunch of carbs in our culture. And so the way to really fulfill that space, that void that a lot of us can have at times is to pour out and to live a life of service and to give, and specifically give through service. And that's a noble way to live, but it's also very fulfilling.
Yeah, I love the excuse me. I love the notion of fulfillment because yeah, and I'll even disagree a little bit. I think that is how the universe is set up. Like you receive what you give out. So if you're just about taking, if you're just about me, and then you're not fulfilled and you're not feeling love and all those things that we need as human beings to have a happy life, then probably it's because you're just taking. You want to be a giver, and when you give, to Kirk's point, whatever you give, you receive. When you give love, when you give support, when you give a shoulder to cry on, when you give advice, you receive that back. You receive it usually back 3 to 10 fold. So whatever it is you need, whatever it is that you have, give that and you'll receive that back. And then you'll realize that all this material stuff, all this storage shed stuff, all of our stuff isn't what it's all about because you can't take it with you. Kirk says it all the time. Everything that you have is going to be somebody else's someday. So stop worrying about all the stuff. Start
Mhm.
worrying about the people and the experiences and the emotions that you have together. Because that you can take with you.
Yeah, the only thing that no one else will have is your DNA and your legacy. And your legacy is that thing that you create as you journey through life, like the wake of a ship. Every ship that travels through the ocean of life creates a unique wake behind it that's evidence of where it was and the direction that it headed. And so as you walk through life and as you live through life, and if you travel through the oceans and the seas and the high seas of life, that wake that you leave behind, specifically in your service, is one that no one else can ever replace or can never have or can never lay claim to. Somebody can lay claim to all of your money. Somebody can even lay claim to your debt that you leave behind, man. Your kids, your spouse, all these other kind of things may have another name in the future, but your legacy will never, ever be anybody else's, and it will outlive you. When even when you do stuff, let's be practical. This video is going to outlive both of us. One day, our grandkids are gonna hear about this thing called YouTube that they used to have a long time ago, back in the ancient days, and they'll be able to go find it, and so when we live a life of service, we live a life that our grandkids can lay witness to, and they can read about and they can hear about, and it makes you real and tangible to them in the future. But we have to be intentional about creating that wake for your ship as you go through the seas of life.
Yeah, and make sure you understand how this works because so many folks go, oh, well, what I give, I get back. So I gave this person this and they didn't give it back to me. 9 times out of 10, if not 99 out of 100, it's not coming back from the same place you gave. Usually it comes from somewhere else that you don't expect because you're not blocking, you're not resisting it. But also, when you're living a life of service, it doesn't matter. You're not worried about where it comes back from. You're not worried about, oh, well, I gave to this person, they didn't give it back to me. You have a mindset a lot of times of I'm planting trees I'll never get to sit under the shade of. I'm planting seeds of things that I'll never get to see grow. That's legacy. That's service. Those are the things that you want to just be putting those out there because for most of us, we'll never see the impact. We have no idea what ripples we create by whatever it is we put out in the world. And so don't be so caught up in, oh, well, I gave this and I didn't get it back. Just know that you're giving. The fact that you're being of service and you're giving of yourself, that's the reward in and of itself. And then it will come back to you probably 3 to 10 times more from some other source, some other thing. So just make sure you're giving of an open heart and you're not looking at, oh well, for that quid pro quo of something for something. Make sure you're just giving to give and you'll see the results. You'll see it coming back. But a lot of us, especially when we start this out, we're miserable and we're like, oh well, I'm gonna give and I better get it back. Well, that's it. That's the wrong mindset. You want to give and know that it will come back. It's just going to be from a different person, a different source, a different thing. But
Mhm.
make sure you're given with a mindset of legacy, being of service, and knowing that whatever it is you're giving out is going to have ripple effects. You may never see them, but it's going to have an effect.
You got to have the right heart when you give, particularly out of service or give in service. You got to have the right heart, the right motivations. Um, you learn pretty quickly after you join the military that you didn't join the military for the money. Most people in the military, especially the junior ranks, can qualify for public assistance. And whatever your thoughts about that, it is what it is. But but you got to have your heart in the right place. You got to have your heart um, in the clear to be able to give with nothing in return. Otherwise, you're not giving. You're investing, and you just looking for something back in the future. Word pictures. If you have a tea kettle and you're pouring out of that tea kettle, you know, naturally you would think at some point, man, there's got to be something coming back into that tea kettle. But when you pour out of that from the right place, when you draw your hand back, somehow, some way, that tea kettle ends up being heavier than it was when you pour it out because it's full,
Mhm.
because it's full from a different place, a different source. It becomes the source, not the resource. And so we got to have that kind of mentality. We got to have the right heart. We got to have the right motivations when we serve. But when we do, it will come back, time and time again, may not even be in this lifetime, but I'm okay if the greatest things I'm remembered for when I'm gone. I'm okay with that, but we got to have that mentality that it's not for me, it's for somebody else.
Yeah, when you live a life of service, you will be fulfilled because it's not about the material things. You can't take it with you. It's not about the money. I mean, like to Kirk's point, if it wasn't for housing and chow halls, most enlisted would starve to death. But they don't do it for the money. They do it for the pride and the passion of being of service to their country. And when you operate in that way with that open heart and know that the universe has got your back, know that God's got your back, know that whatever you put out, you get back, then you'll be able to operate within a mind of service and an open heart and then know that you'll be taken care of. Whatever it is that you're putting out, you'll get back. Just don't get so caught up in the source. Allow, you got to be open to allow. The whole law of attraction is you put it
Mhm,
out and then you got to be open to allow it to come back. And a lot of
mhm,
us, I know I struggle with this sometimes as well. And a lot of guys do as well. You got to be open to receive. You can't give from an empty cup. And so sometimes the best thing you can do is ask for that support so that you can have somebody else fill your cup and then you'll be filling their cup, and then it's this compound effect. You know, the more that we come together, the more that we support each other, the more we have to give to others. And so that's all we're encouraging you to do. You know, honor your veterans, honor your servicemen, honor your families, but just think about being of service. If you're struggling with fulfillment or passion or purpose, maybe you're not being of service enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty dope, man. And I mean, with our last 30 seconds here, thank all of you who serve in some kind of way, one way or another, whether it's the military, whether you're some kind of first responder or some kind of civil servant, whether you serve at home. If you're a mom or a dad that serves your house, you stay at home, just taking care of kids. Um, if you have a platform that you serve other people through, thank you for your service. And if you don't have a place to serve, find a place to serve in this holiday, man. And maybe you'll find that this holiday could be the most fulfilling holiday you've ever had. So check out your boys, madmenradio.com. Check us out YouTube, Facebook. It don't cost you nothing to hit the like and subscribe button. But it helps us to be heard by more people. It helps us to serve. So holler at your boys. Let us know what you thought, what you liked, what you didn't like, how funny looking we are, all those kind of good things.
How funny we're sounding today.
All that stuff. And so until next time, we love y'all, and the Mad Men are out.
Out.